I want to start off by saying, before you dislike the video, before you just tune this out, turn it off, and dislike, watch the video. I'm going to try to make it brief, and I'm going to explain my argument with some actual evidence, so maybe you'll actually see where I'm coming from. You'll see why this is a good thing. You might learn something, you know? All for the better. Anyways, since yesterday's announcement of Pokemon UltraSun and UltraMoon were in the Pokemon Direct yesterday, you would think for new Pokemon games people would be really excited. But you go across the internet and there's actually quite a few vocal fans that don't like this. They wanted it on Switch, or they wanted Pokemon Stars on Switch. Even IGN went as far to call it baffling that it's not going to the Nintendo Switch. It doesn't really make any sense when you really think about it. I've been a Nintendo fan and a Pokemon fan for so long that I've come to see how Nintendo and Game Freak, how they handle their Pokemon games. So when it really baffles me when people say that this is a cash grab, they haven't done this before, or anything like that, or why isn't it on Switch, the 3DS is dead, so on and so forth, you know. And you're getting a lot of people saying that they're not going to support it and that it's going to fail. Well, let's look at this. The other non-mainline versions, so talking about the versions that didn't usher in a new generation of Pokemon, all those versions, this is the sale numbers for them. You look at the expanded versions, which are either the third versions or sequels, and they've sold millions. Even the lowest one, which is Crystal, has sold over 6 million. The remake series has sold over 10 million for all the remakes. It makes you wonder, if you really don't want to support it, then just don't. Definitely vote with your dollars. But this proves that you're one person compared to the millions of Pokemon fans out there. There's a lot of fans that don't get so hardcore into this like you and I, us gamers do. There's a lot of casual fans. There's a lot of new generations of Pokemon fans, younger kids that are just getting into it. They're not going to care about, oh, is it on Switch or 3DS? No, they just want to play the game. And there's going to be millions of people like that are going to want to just play the game because Pokemon reaches millions of people. You can call them sheep. You can call them, not helping the cause or what have you. But all they're doing is they're having fun, buying a game that they enjoy. You know what I mean? Let's also look at why these are on the 3DS instead of the Switch, right? So let's look at this. This is the install base for both systems. The Switch, as of now, as of this video, is sitting at 2.74 million sales worldwide. These are worldwide sales, compared to the 66.12 million 3DSs out there in the wild. That equates to over 24 times as many 3DS units in the wild. Now, yes, you can argue and say, how many of those 66 millions are being used? How many have been traded in, refurbished, broken, what have you, blah, blah, blah. And that's true. But even a fraction of that 66 million is going to be more than the 2.74 million Switches worldwide as of this moment. You just got to think about it. Why would Game Freak release new Pokemon games? They just started a brand new generation of Pokemon, Generation 7, with Sun and Moon, on the 3DS this past year. Why would they suddenly break apart that generation onto an entirely different system with an install base of not even 3 million yet? Do you know what I mean? They've never ever done that before. You also look at this. The actual MSRPs of both systems. People like to call the Switch as a handheld. Not true. But even Nintendo themselves have stated it is a home console first and foremost. It has succeeded the Wii U. It is a home console with a portable feature. It is a hybrid, but it's a home console first and foremost. They've already talked about making a 3DS successor. They've already talked about, you know, the 3DS coexisting with the Switch, which it has when you actually look at the lineup going through the rest of this year for both systems. $299 and above for bundles for the Switch. No handheld has ever reached that price. No handheld from Nintendo or Sony. A dedicated gaming handheld. We're not talking about iPhones or anything else. Dedicated gaming handhelds from Nintendo and Sony have never been $300 plus for an entry level. Switch is $299 plus entry level. You have had 300 plus Vitas out there, but the Vita was always being sold entry level at $249. The 3DS MSRP as of now, whether you go by the 2DS all the way up to the new 3DS XL, $79.99 up to $199.99. This July, they have the new Nintendo 2DS XL, which is going to MSRP for $149.99. That is half the price of the Nintendo Switch, plays all the Pokemon DS and 3DS games, as well as the new Pokemon 3DS games coming out. Do you see what I mean? Kids, casual gamers, and just more everyday people are going to gravitate towards the 3DS when it comes to something like Pokemon. When it comes to one game they want to play, they're not going to gravitate towards the Switch for Pokemon as they would the 3DS. The 3DS is just an easier entry-level platform. Now, granted, the Switch has seen success with games like Breath of the Wild, but it's not on the same level of Pokemon. Come this holiday season, Switch is still going to be $299, new 2DS XL $149, and parents are going to see that for their kids and be like, okay, well, they want Pokemon, this is $149, there you go. It's just going to be easier. With a Pokemon game, kids asking for, oh, I want this $300 system plus the 2 new Pokemon games, $60 a piece. Give me that $500 after taxes, Christmas present. Most parents, yeah, I mean, not a lot of parents are going to do that. Some will, yes, but the cheaper a product, the more willing the consumer is going to buy it, especially when that product at the moment does offer more. It just does. Let's look at the timeline as well. Game Freak has never launched a Pokemon game with a system, a mainline Pokemon game, nor have they ever had a mainline Pokemon game in the launch window, anywhere near the launch window of a system. The only exception is the Game Boy Color, which was about a year, little over a year after that came out, Gold and Silver came out. But the Game Boy Color, some people would say it's a successor, some people would say it's an upgrade to the Game Boy. It's a little bit of both. It utilized a lot of the same tech as the Game Boy, so they were already familiar with it. So that's a little bit of an anomaly. But like even the 3DS, that came out in Japan February of 2011, and X and Y didn't come out until literally over 2 years later. That's well into the system's lifespan. Meanwhile, during that time, you had Black and White releasing on the DS, and you had Black and White 2 releasing on the DS. Black and White 2 literally coming out a year and a half later than when the 3DS launched, and they were regular DS titles. Game Freak does this a lot because they like to take time to study the systems, study the hardware that Nintendo's coming out with. Not only that, but they wait for the player base to grow. They give it a year or two before they're going to bring out a Pokemon game to it. So really, let's be honest. Pokemon UltraSun and Pokemon UltraMoon on 3DS. 3DS exclusives. Does it make sense? Absolutely. What reason is there for Pokemon Stars, as it was rumored, Pokemon Stars, to be an exclusive Switch title as an enhanced port of Sun and Moon on a system with an install base of not even 3 million yet, and when it's in the middle of a Pokemon generation? From a business standpoint, it makes no sense. From a consumer standpoint, it makes no sense. The vocal minority out there on the internet that is complaining just wants it because they want it for them. You're not looking at the bigger picture. If you're part of that minority, you are not looking at the bigger picture. It's a business. This is a good business decision, and it's a good decision for consumers overall. If the Switch truly is going to be the successor to both the Wii U and the 3DS, then it will get a mainline Pokemon title in time. You're going to have to give it at least a year or two. You're going to have to, because you had to give the previous handhelds a year or two for a Pokemon title to ever come to them. Again, look at the history, look at the facts, and you'll see this is the right move.
Jordan fades back, swoosh, and that's the game! Nothing further, Your Honor.